Okay, thank you. Well, I've got lots of technology going on here, so we'll hope that it all works. This is kind of fun tonight. As we on the Wednesday night planning team get together several times a year to try to plan things that will provide benefit, interest, fun for you and for us. On Wednesday nights, one of the things that somebody came up with in this planning says, well, we got several positions, and the last one is walking in at this moment. So God bless you. We got several positions. Wouldn't it be fun to just invite them to come and say? Michael said that he was ready for an hour and a half, and I'm sure they all could talk all day. But we're going to talk briefly about 3 things I wish my patients knew, and then have kind of a Q&A. So this is just kind of a get to know you kind of a thing. I'm going to introduce the doctors one at a time, just in. Well, I thought that was alphabetical order. That's not alphabetical order. Anyway, I'm going to introduce them according to this list. Whatever kind of list this is. And this is a very CBF kind of a bunch. These are all doctors who've got some significant connection to CBF. We've got at least 3 nationalities represented here. We've got 5 different disciplines represented. We've got 2 different faith groups represented, at least 2 different. So this is very CBF. Amen? Amen. Would you please welcome Dr. Soban Matthew? If you'll just sit behind your name, that will help. So you're on the end right there. And he does internal medicine. I'm going to let them introduce themselves a little bit as they start so they can say more what they want to. Dr. Michael Zimring. Also internal medicine. Dr. Pascal Crosley. And as you can tell, all these guys have just dashed in from work in various ways, and we're grateful. But as I tell Steve, when he has to get up and leave meetings, I said, if I was the patient, I'd want the doctor there. Amen? Thank you for going.
I'm not used to seeing black stripes.
There you go. Dr. Reginald Crosley. Nephrologist. Dr. Steve Gore, cardiology. And Dr. Larry Johnson, pediatrics.
Think you're over here, Dad.
What order that was, I have no idea.
Okay, I'll follow like
What I'd like to do, I think I've turned on the camera.
Okay.
So what I'd like to do, first of all, is to invite you to just say a word about yourself, and where you're from, where you trained, anything about the kind of medicine you practice, just kind of a brief introductory thing. And then we will come back and do one of the things, one of your 3. We'll kind of make a cycle through, except for Steve. He's got a short little PowerPoint that will do that. So thanks for each of you for coming. Soban, we'll start with you at that end. If you would just tell folks just a little bit about yourself, and not the first thing, but just a little bit about yourself. What you do, where you're from.
Okay. Did I grab the mic? Oh, no.
It wouldn't hurt to hold the mic.
Okay.
Because it just doesn't, maybe we can pass it around. Because I want them to be able to hear it.
Hello? Everybody hear me?
Yes.
I'm usually the back of the church kind of guy. So this is very unusual for me. But my name is Shoban Matthew. I practice in private practice in internal medicine. I've been in practice a little shorter than my colleague here, but I am in this extraordinary field now called solo private practice. I'm more preventative oriented, and my journey to where I am right now has been a long one. It involved emergency medicine and trauma in the Bronx, and a little bit of an interest in cardiology at Washington Hospital Center. But I've stuck to internal medicine, which is, I believe, bang for buck. We should change the way we live. I don't believe in medicines. I do believe in universal health care, as it was originally defined. That's Well, the original Obama healthcare, which is every American should be insured. That's a brief summary. My background is I'm Indian. My parents were missionaries. My mother's a doctor. She's a medical missionary, and I've grown up in just about every war zone in Africa. Wow. Just about any one you want to think about. We settled down in Nigeria when my parents decided that enough of the wandering around and enough of the war and the bombs, and I need to go to school. And so did my sister. So that's my background. I've seen every form of poverty, I think, and I compare it with the health and the delivery of care that I deliver now. My heart is still in charity. We're building a hospital in Tanzania right now. Well, that's a whole discussion. But that's the summary of who I am.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Michael.
Mike Zimmery, internal medicine and travel medicine. Been in practice, Baltimore, downtown Baltimore, Mercy Medical Center, but as a private practitioner, solo, one of the few left in this world. And it's going to stay that way. Trained at University of Maryland, trained at Mercy, worked emergency medicine for a while, worked in the Baltimore City Fire Department for a while. Enjoy medicine, enjoy my patients. Some patients I've had for almost 30 to 40 years. Surprised they stayed, oh well. And they're still alive. And that's me. I like travel medicine as a sort of like a hobby, but it's been very big lately. Going to different places like Tanzania, preparing everybody to go, or taking them back, hopefully fairly good condition. That's really about it. And
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. Pascal Crosley is my dad, my mentor here. My dad is a physician, so I followed in his footsteps under a stern whip. And as everybody knows, I grew up in the church here, and I can remember praying for admission to medical school. I can remember asking prayers from the church to pass my boards, to get into residency, and I owe a lot of that support to the church. And so I went to med school in New York, and then I trained in emergency medicine in New York. And I moved to Atlanta to practice, and I started to do some work with a group of emergency physicians, and we kind of had a national mission. And during that work, I met some leadership from St. Agnes Hospital here in Baltimore, and I said, "Oh, I'm familiar with that hospital." And to make a long story short, I wasn't doing leadership in Atlanta, and so we went to present to look at the contract for our group at St. Agnes, and the CEO looked at me and said, "If Dr. Crosley will come be the chair of the department, we'll give you the contract." And so I was happy in Atlanta. I didn't think I was going to get back, but I couldn't give up the chance to come home. So it's been great for me and my family, and we're back now. And so I've been doing a lot of work there, so you probably haven't seen me much. But I've been working really to revamp the department, and I hired about 12 new doctors there, so we're kind of putting it together. And that's kind of where I am now, and happy to kind of be in front of you, and really humbled to be in front of you. So thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Amen.
Well, you are all familiar with me. I mean, original Crosley. I've been in that church since 1974. And of course, I study medicine in my country, in Haiti, at the university, State University of Haiti. And after that, I passed that ACFMG test that they give most of the foreigners, and I came to New York where I was.
Hold it up closer to your mouth so they can.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I came to New York where I was trained at the Queen General Hospital in Long Island, Jewish, where I studied internal medicine and nephrology, the kidney disease dialysis type of thing. Then after that, I moved to Maryland, and I joined that old hospital called Providence Hospital Unfortunately, that hospital went down in 1984, but I was also affiliated with Maryland General Hospital, and I continue to practice. And I was in solo practice for a long time, and I'm still in solo practice. And my interest, is goes beyond medicine. I'm very interested in theology, and I wrote some books. One of them was The Second Coming of Christ, maybe postponed again, and then another one that was published in 2010 was Close Encounter with God. And then I continue to practice medicine, and I think it's almost time for me now to retire. But I cannot accept the fact that I would have to sit down doing nothing. So I'm still continuing to do some practice.
Thank you, Reggie.
Yeah, I'll use this one. Hi, everybody. I'm Larry Johnson. I'm the only pediatrician in the group. So I'm not going to be the one to tell you what's causing that pain in your neck. The only baby in the room left. But all of us have children in our lives, and some of us have grandchildren, and it kind of reminds me of the comment that one of the members of our board of directors made about grandchildren. And she said, if I had known grandchildren would be this much fun, I would have had them first.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
Anyway, I did my training in pediatrics at the Children's Hospital in Boston and at Case Western University in Cleveland. I actually split it up into two parts. I went to medical school in New York, and when I went to Cleveland, I discovered that I'm really an East Coast person, even though I like Cleveland, the people in Ohio were really great. But I missed the East Coast, so came back. And it just so happened that I had met Beverly when I was in medical school, and she was in New York, and that was kind of another incentive for me to come back east. I was the medical director at DC General Hospital in Washington, D.C. from 1980 until 1997. Major public hospital, major teaching hospital. I basically devoted my career to serving the underserved. And right now I'm working in a community health center in Baltimore. I'm the chief medical officer there. I practice in the pediatrics department, but I supervise all of the medical care at the health center. And I think that kind of sums it up.
Thank you, Larry. Steve?
Steve Moore, I'm kind of the newest doctor here, I think. I did my residency and fellowship at Walter Reed, and currently I'm doing an advanced imaging and cardiology fellowship at Johns Hopkins, so I'm not quite finished, but it's nothing really to say besides that. Pretty short career.
You're still learning.
Okay, thank you. Well, now what we're going to try to do is we'll start back with Soban and just do one thing, or maybe two. We'll do two, because when we get to Steve, he's going to shoot his whole gun with his PowerPoint. So do two things that you wish your patients knew, and then we'll do two around, and then if we have time, we'll do a third one.
So I'm not as computer savvy as Pastor Dave with his little iPad and all that, so I'll bring out my little paper here. Tested and tried. Always works. And can't be deleted. Well, I just want to say that I had no idea that there were so many inspirational physicians in our practice. In our church. And I'm inspired by my colleague here in internal medicine. A lot of my patients have asked me if I'm going to leave. We are dinosaurs, and I've had to
Young
see,
dinosaurs.
you know, the word being used, private practice, solo practice, the way it used to be in medicine is, people say is rare, and that's very troubling. I have never been more troubled by the way medicine is practiced lately. I'm not troubled by the way I practice my medicine, but I am troubled by the way things are going. But I'm inspired by senior colleagues here to no end. This has been a good meet, no matter which way it goes. For me, I met, you know, CPF to me is all about Sam. He worked at the Exxon station, and Sam is my angel. When I was young and practicing physician, I was more ER trained, and I was the guy who would smoke, and go outside, play basketball, come back in and manage trauma. And I'd go buy cigarettes from Sam, and Sam talked to me about, well, maybe you have God. Come to my church, and that's how I came to CBF. Fast forward, I have changed a lot, and I've realized that bang for buck, we spend a lot of time fixing broken hearts, and that's an expert right there. And I think lifestyle changes can trump any drug. So that's my first point. Every leading diagnosis, hypertension, well, the top three right now, hypertension, diabetes, and heart disease are interconnected in ways, and the vast majority are not genetic. So it's not because mama had it that, you know, I'm destined to have it. We have become a sedentary nation, and I mean that in the kindest possible way. We have got...
Notice I'm standing up.
And we've got to change our lifestyle. So I'll put that as the first point. I come back to it depending on how much time I have, but because I could talk all day about this. This is what I do every single day, and I'm inspired by my colleagues because I know that, you know, it's worth it. It is not lucrative, does not make me money compared to my colleagues, but I think I sleep well at night. So changing your lifestyle can trump a drug. There are plenty of studies out there. Unfortunately, the drug companies don't allow us to advertise lifestyle changes. So you see more drug ads on TV than you would an advertisement on Let's Get Moving or letsmove.org, which is the First Lady's website. Very few people know about it. In fact, I have patients talking with almost annoyance about the First Lady doing this stuff. It's not going to work. It does work. Eating right, exercising can beat a lot of the diseases that
Daniel
we have.
plan starts Sunday.
Very good. Yeah, and that's a great diet. The second thing is I've realized from 20-something years of doing this, and long before my colleague here, who I'm definitely inspired by, is if I can't figure out why the patient wants to get healthy, then we don't have a relationship. And that takes time. So to me, one of the questions I've started asking my patients over about 10 years, and I've gotten a lot closer to God. I'm sort of stuck with God now. And my staff are not happy with the amount of time I spend. I'm constantly preaching as if, and I tell my patients, you know, you may want to try God. And I cannot help it anymore. I would hardly call myself how do I put this? I find myself very wanting when it comes to God, but I'm stuck with Him, one way or the other. So I try to tell patients, why do you want to get healthy? Why are you even here? Motivation is the key. So what is your motivation to stay alive? And then they ask me, and this is the part that takes time, because once you ask the question, how are you doing? I've had all kinds of scenarios. I can go over examples. How are you doing? Why is your blood pressure up? Not the drugs, not are you taking your drugs, it's what's going on. Then you hear the stories, which is, I'm going through a divorce, I'm cheating on my wife, I can go on and on, I'm drinking, I'm troubled. I had a lieutenant colonel from the reserve that just came last week, and I was telling you about it, and he said to me, he just came in, and he's depressed, he hasn't seen a doctor, he's a combat veteran, and I said, you're down and out. You can't continue like this. I mean, I'm not going to give you a drug. His blood pressure was up, and we had a plan. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you don't have a reason to be healthy, then you don't need to go into a doctor. You really don't need to go into a doctor. It's a waste of time. The statistics show that 80% of doctors prescribe medicines within 2 minutes of a conversation. The average length of visits at an internal medicine office is 6 minutes. We've gotten technologically advanced. So Pastor Dave's little iPad costs us 4 minutes. So now we're spending 10 minutes, 6 of them on actual patient care and 4 on charting. We have gone backwards. Technology is not what's going to fix us. I suggest God. God has the answers. In other words, I suggest when they ask me what do I feel, I say, well, in my darkest moments, when I lose track of things, I think God gives me focus. Sometimes they go a little further, ask me what kind of God do I worship, and in medical school we're not allowed to talk about it. Really, we're not allowed to talk about it. They say, there's no conversation about God. I own my own practice. I'm the boss. I can say whatever I want to say. So I'm not responsible to any group or any individual. And I constantly talk about God lately. My journey is long, and I've found my way down the road. So what I tell my patients is, what's your motivation? Why do you even want to be healthy? Okay? And I suggest to them that your primary reason for being alive is to